How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 8. So if FPL Game Week 7 is going very well for you guys, I'll be posting my team review at the start of this video, even though we do have 2 games remaining tonight and tomorrow night. Once we've covered all the double Game Week 7 goodness, I'll be jumping into the Game Week 8 goodness, and that's going to revolve around my team selection and my transfer plan. Now, will we be activating the wildcard ship by the end of this video? You guys are going to have to wait and see if I do. And I'll be showing you guys all my reasoning behind if I do it or don't. So if that's something that you guys are interested in, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So let's go over the kind of bad side of FPL at the current moment. It's going to be our Game Week 7 or double Game Week 7 team review. Now, unfortunately, as you guys can see, top right hand side, yet again, it's not green, it's going to be red, and we're currently sitting at the 1.6 million mark. So if you guys do recall, that's about a 60k red arrow, quite bad, but don't worry, we still do have one player tonight that could potentially save our game week. Now in terms of overall points, it was to be 40 overall points with a game week rank of 5.8 million, and that explains kind of the red arrow because that's a very average game week. Now we do have one free transfer and 1.6 million in the bank, so we can make a little bit of an upgrade if we do please. So right off the bat, before I talk about my own team, how did you guys get on in double Game Week 7? Was it a great week? Was it a bad week? Do you guys still have Captain Morris to come up tomorrow night? As he's already beating Erling Haaland. As I always say, it's a very safe space. If you guys want to kind of brag about your points, don't worry, we'll accept that, we'll congratulate you. But if you want to have a cry in the comments down below, my shoulder's here to cry on. Now unfortunately, the good news doesn't kind of increase in terms of our bench. I'll be going over that first in terms of my team review. And as you guys can see, a lovely 9 points from Johnston sitting in that position. Now you guys have to wait and see if I do actually get those points off the bench. Spoiler alert, I don't. So those 9 points are simply going to the abyss. But unfortunately, I chose this. I decided to play kind of Johnston on the bench. I believe that Rashford and Bruno and United as a whole would score as it was a home fixture. But that obviously wasn't the case. So congrats if you guys did actually go for Johnston. I really wish now that I started him, obviously. But as we discussed in the Ultimate Guide, Crystal Palace's defense isn't that bad. Luckily though, the rest of our bench was pretty kind of terrible. Archer, Baldock is still injured. And then Udogie only got 1 point with that yellow card against Liverpool. So let's go on to the reason I'm not getting those Johnston points off the bench. It's been Matt Turner from Nottingham Forest. As you guys would have seen, the only game on Sunday, 1-1 draw to Brentford. But he did rack up a few save points and therefore ends on 3. So just a 6-point difference, but in a game week like double Game Week 7, those 6 points would have been absolutely massive and could have even given us a green arrow. But that wasn't the case, but as I said, I'm willing to accept this. I did think that United would score at the end of the day, and this game was the worst of the worst, and I'll talk about that when I go over my midfield. But now let's go over the defensive department. I'm going to start off with the double up of the Newcastle assets. Kieran Trippier was a transfer in for Game Week 7 for the likes of Chilwell. So boom, that's what you guys love to see, a massive 12 points off the bounce, just came into my squad, already repaying the faith. But Newcastle did have a pretty easy game against Sheffield United. But when you spoke about Kieran Trippier not kind of producing the attacking threat, you guys have seen it over the last 2 game weeks, just an incredible FPL asset when the fixtures are strong, so he's a firm hold if I wasn't to wildcard. Unfortunately though, his colleague Botman, we had some news about his potential starting before the Game Week 7 deadline. That ended up being fake news. The news was that he was actually out for about a month's time. So it just shows you that you guys have to kind of trust certain accounts over on Twitter. So with that Botman injury, we'll therefore have Udogie off the bench for his 1 point, so at least the score will increase and not decrease. The reason I'm saying decrease is obviously I chose to start Estupiñán against Aston Villa, and you guys know the rest. Mr. 1-on-1 then concedes a goal, and then also goes and scores an own goal. So you went from a potential haul to a potential negative points pretty quickly, and then was subbed at halftime from -2 total. So I said this over on Twitter, but if you guys were laughing at Estupiñán and were laughing at me for playing him, now you guys know if you're getting him off the bench, that's a pretty terrible situation. So I don't want to be that guy, but unfortunately, if you guys are getting Estupiñán off the bench, your red arrow will get even bigger, as therefore you're going to -2 points. Now I don't really know what happened with Brighton on the weekend. This might be one of those situations where kind of every shot goes in. I would know as a Liverpool fan facing Aston Villa, but we do know that Brighton defense hasn't been great this season. But Estupiñán did have his chances, as mentioned, a 1-on-1 quite early into that fixture. If he scores that goal, it's a different story at the end of the day. So in terms of our defensive department, yes, if Johnston started, we would have had a great defensive department, but Kieran Trippier at the current moment is definitely carrying it. Now going to the midfield department, we luckily do still have 1 game tonight. It's going to be that Chelsea vs Fulham game, and I personally do still own Raheem Sterling. Now while you guys are going to laugh at me for still owning Sterling, I'm just hoping that he gets me some points, but this is all too familiar. Every single game week for the past few, I've been relying on Raheem Sterling to save my week, and he simply hasn't. So let's see if something changes tonight in Game Week 7, maybe gets a goal and assist, literally anything. I'm literally on my knees begging Raheem. So if you guys are watching this tomorrow, you'll simply know what happened with that game, but I'm just hoping for any attacking return as mentioned. And let's see for the first time this season if he can save my game week. The reason he has to is unfortunately the rest of our midfielders didn't do much this game week, and I'm going to start off with Mbumo, and the Turner Mbumo combination was the reason this game week was so bad, because I literally said if Brentford score, I just want Mbumo to be involved, as then at least I get some FPL points. So what ends up happening, that doesn't happen. Mbumo blanks, gets only 2 points, and then Matt Turner also concedes. So the worst case scenario literally happened in this fixture, so I wasn't too happy about that one. Now there's also talks about Mbumo kind of being a sell. Yes, I do agree, I don't think he's the best option, but because he is a little bit cheaper than these other midfielders, I'm willing to give him a little bit of slack. Now Brentford still has some good fixtures coming up, but the annoying thing is that he simply blanked in the easier games, so maybe we need some harder games for Mbumo to actually get some returns. Then the next player to talk about is going to be Bukayo Saka. Big talking point before Game Week 7's deadline. A lot of news going around like with Botman, but the news is a little bit more concrete about Saka. He travelled with the squad, trained, and therefore thought that he would play. Now we did get some news earlier on that he was actually be starting in this fixture. That's the reason why I kept him, and he scored 9 points. Now 9 points on any other kind of game week is going to be absolutely massive, but if you guys did watch that game against Bournemouth, he gave away 2 penalties to Havertz and also Odegaard. So I personally thought that Saka was the main penalty taker for Arsenal, but I guess maybe he scored the first goal. He was feeling a bit more generous. So yes, he could have actually had a hattie against Bournemouth if he took those 2 penalties, and that's why as a Saka owner, with a lot of people selling, I was a little bit disappointed. But in quite a low scoring game week, I'm not going to be too mad about 9 points, and at least that news was concrete of him actually starting. Now the last 2 options to go over, you guys know my team, it's the United options, Bruno and also Rashford, and these 2 players are the reason a lot of people are wildcarding. United this season have been simply terrible, and both these 2 assets aren't returning FPL points. Now what I will add is that Bruno's stats continue to be quite good, think that he's assisting but United aren't scoring, so obviously that doesn't result in any FPL points. Now Rashford is slightly more worrying, he seemed to be taken off quite early on in that game when United thought were looking for a winner. So I don't know how much to read into that, maybe he was just having kind of an off day, but he's been having off days for the past few game weeks. So as I said, these 2 assets are the simple reason that many people are wildcarding. I might keep faith in them for a few more game weeks. I'll discuss that a little bit later on. But all you guys have to know for double Game Week 7 is both these 2 options blanked that resulted in a Jonathan clean sheet, 9 points on my bench, and only 4 points between them in my starting 11. Let's see if the forward department got any rosier. Oh no, it didn't. Erling Haaland blanked against Wolves, a game that I thought they would absolutely destroy Wolves. So he ends on only 2 points doubled. Now luckily his colleague who we also own, Alvarez, scored a very nice free kick and therefore ended on a few bonus points as well, taking him to 8. So I saw one person over on Twitter actually captain Alvarez instead of Haaland because they got confused. They simply saw the kit and put the Campsey armband on him. So that was you guys, congrats on those extra points, as Alvarez definitely outperformed Haaland this week. But as you guys can see, a little bit of an unlucky game week here, the United assets heavily letting us down. All my faith relies on Raheem Sterling in a pretty misfiring Chelsea squad. So as mentioned, in the comments down below, let me know how your game week went. Was it a green arrow? Was it a red arrow? And where are you guys sitting in the overall ranks? Now before we talk about my actual kind of transfer plan, remember this could be a wild card. I want to show you guys the context of my current team, and then you guys can decide what moves I make or if I should activate the chip. So let's go over kind of a very quick rundown. The bench kind of picks itself this game week. We've got Matt Turner back on the bench as he has Crystal Palace away. We then have Archer and Baldock against Fulham away. Now this fixture actually is pretty decent on the cards, and Archer could be a shoo-in in the starting 11. But for the time being, I'm going to bench him as the Sheffield United attacking stats are still not looking good. Then obviously the injured Botman, don't think he'll be fit for Game Week 8, but Eddie Howe did say that he might be fit for Game Week 9 as there is an international break coming up shortly. So let's go over the starting 11. While our goalkeepers actually play each other, it's Johnston versus Matt Turner, Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest. Now I'll be backing the kind of better defensive department at the moment. I'm backing Crystal Palace, and it is a home game for them. Then in terms of defensive department, I've got Kieran Trippier against West Ham away, not the best fixture on the cards, but still a decent one, and Newcastle are playing well at the moment. Then I've got a Dogi against Luton away, great game on paper. I'm expecting a clean sheet and some attacking returns, as he was getting quite forward even against Liverpool. The only defender, unfortunately, because of Botman's injury, I'm forced to play Stupinan yet again against Liverpool at home, and this game doesn't look too good on the cards. Now Liverpool do have some injuries in the forward departments, but I still expect them to score, especially with how bad Brighton have been defensively. So overall, the defensive department, yes, we could make 1 or 2 changes. Would have liked to have benched Stupinan for this week, but the Botman injury is a little bit unlucky. Now let's move on to midfield department. Going to start off on the outside. We've got Rashford and Bruno against Brentford at home, and they also haven't been defending well at the moment. Now yet again, this is going to be a home fixture. I'm expecting United to hopefully score, but this might actually be blind faith as I don't even know if I can rely on them. Then moving inwards, Bukayo Saka against Man City at home was in training today, so if you guys are worried of a potential knock, you guys don't have to, as he seems to be fine. Now this game looks hard on paper, but without Rodri because of that red card, Man City seem to be struggling, so Arsenal could pounce and actually do well. Then on the other side, we've got Raheem Sterling against Burnley away. Obviously tonight's game will tell us how Chelsea are kind of adapting, because at the current moment, they don't look too great. But at the end of the day, Raheem Sterling against Burnley away is a fine fixture to play him on, so I'm actually fine with keeping him. Then in the middle of the bracket, we've got Mbeumo against United away. Martinez out for the long term with an injury, and you guys know how United have been defending at the moment. So yes, a little bit more kind of blind faith here, but as I said, maybe Brentford need these tougher games for Mbeumo to actually get some points. So overall, the midfield doesn't look too great, but not too bad. A lot rides on that United vs Brentford game. Then finally, our two strikers, you guys know, the colleagues Alvarez and Erling Haaland. At the current moment, got the Campsy armband on Erling Haaland, but this might be the week to take a punt, as this is quite a hard game. So I don't really know what to call this game. I think this game might have goals in it. I've seen Arsenal kind of concede a few, not the best kind of defense at the moment, but still the defensive stats are pretty decent. But you guys know Man City, a pretty strong side, but they did struggle against Wolves, so is that Rodri red card impacting them more than we thought? So defensive department needs some changes, midfield department doesn't look that great, and the forward department, I guess we can somewhat rely on Man City, but they do have a tough game. So what I want you guys to do right now, with one free transfer in the bank, do you guys think that I should wildcard? I know this team needs a few adjustments, but at the current moment, I'm actually not going to be using the chip. Now this could all change, some injury concerns coming up, maybe one or two of my players aren't fit, or I just feel like I need a change and then I might activate the chip. But comment down below, what do you guys think? Do you think this team needs a wildcard, or do you think I can delay it for 1 or 2 game weeks to around game week 10? Now just a reminder here that we do have some midweek football coming up. Obviously we do have the conclusion of double game week 7. We've got Chelsea tonight against Fulham, and then we have Luton taking on Burnley as the conclusion of game week 7. Also on Tuesday and Wednesday, some Champions League games, then obviously Europa and Conference League coming up on Thursday, and a lot of Prem teams are going to be playing midweek football this week. So as always say, if you guys can delay those transfers for as late as possible, that'd probably be quite good, and just watch out for some injury news as well as team selections. But now let's go on to the actual transfer plan, and as mentioned, I'm currently not activating the wildcard chip. Yes, I might need it, but I think I can delay it for 1 or 2 game weeks. I might be over patient here, but I think that the team needs a few more game weeks, and I do prefer the game week 10 wildcard to the game week 8 one. Now in preparation for actually using the wildcard chip, I said to myself on Sunday or Saturday when these price rises happened, I thought to myself, if I was to make a transfer this week, who would it be for? And that player's going to be Heung-min Son. Now if you guys did see, Heung-min Son actually rose over the weekend, so I did announce this move to my legend members halfway through the game week, which is a little bit unlike myself. So the move I actually did was to bring Heung-min Son in. The next 2 fixtures are too hard to ignore, Luton as well as Fulham. Now obviously one of my midfielders had to depart, and that player was going to be Bukayo Saka, even though he's just returned to training today. So my thinking behind this was that, do I want Saka against Man City and Chelsea? Yes, Chelsea might be a good game, Man City without Rodri are a different team, but I did prefer Heung-min Son even as a Campsy option going to the upcoming game week. So the reason I did this move so quickly was because Bukayo Saka was dropping in price, Heung-min Son was rising in price, and what I thought to myself is if this move does go bad, I can simply just activate the wildcard chip. Now what you guys are currently seeing is a player on the left that's just returned to training. He should be fine to play game week 8 versus Heung-min Son, who's been nursing kind of a knock. So yes, I'm absolutely holding my thumbs that Heung-min Son does return to training and is fine for that Luton game on the weekend. But as mentioned, this move has been locked in, no turning back unless I activate the chip. Fingers crossed that Heung-min Son's fine for game week 8. Now the next move I actually want to talk about, and obviously this will be for a -4 hit, it's going to be a defensive move, and that's going to be for Botman, who might be out for the long term. Now the latest news on Eddie Howe is that he said that Botman should be back after international break, which would be game week 9, and if he is going to be fine for game week 9, I might just keep him. But let's just say that I do want to take a punt. I don't want to play Stupinan for Liverpool and then Man City next week, and I actually think that a -4 might be worth not playing that Brighton defender. So just to reiterate what I've just said, I will be forced to play Stupinan against Liverpool in game week 8, against Man City in game week 9 if Botman misses the next 2 game weeks. So I actually do think that a -4 hit is be worth actually not playing a Stupinan for the next 2 weeks, and therefore I do have some replacements. So the first move, if I do go for it, is going to be Botman out for the popular Matty Cash. He's risen in price massively, I think about 0.3 million since my last wildcard draft video, and he ended up getting an assist on the weekend. Now the Aston Villa fixtures for the medium term are simply outstanding. They've got Wolves up next, might be a little bit of a tougher game than people are saying, and then they have West Ham and then also Luton. So off the back of this, I think that Matty Cash is a great option for the medium term, but if I am looking to wildcard in game week 10, I might take a little bit more of a short-term punt. So that short-term punt will be for another Spurs asset. It's me for Pedro Porro. little bit more expensive than Matty Cash by 0.1, he comes in at 5.0 million, but the next two are simply outstanding. So Luton away and Fulham away, I think clean sheets on the cards for both those games, and just remember, Spurs don't play any midweek football. So in my opinion, Pedro Porro should be nailed for the next two fixtures. He's playing great at the moment, and also racked up that assist for the own goal against Liverpool. So between Matty Cash and Pedro Porro, they're quite similar in price. I think that Pedro is the better option as a short-term punt, but then I will have to wildcard in game week 10. But this move hasn't been confirmed yet, it's simply in my mind. It looks like Eddie Howe might confirm Warren Botman in the press conference, but I am actually leaning towards doing this move, as then I can bench a Stupinan. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this move, as well as the previous move that I've already done for Saka to Son. If you guys suggest any other moves, I'm all ears. I'm looking to improve my team dramatically, as long as it doesn't activate the chip. But if you guys do have any pointers, any kind of reasoning why I should activate the chip, I'm all ears, and you guys might actually convince me. If you guys are wildcarding, let me know in the comments down below, as well as your latest draft. I'll be publishing my wildcard draft tomorrow. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow for the wildcard draft, which might tempt me to actually activate the chip. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.